Let me tell you something. So-called doctor. You will never, ever, ever duplicate or ever be the great Malcolm X or Dr. Martin Luther King, who fought for their people and died. They were assassinated for doing so. You see this man right here? This is my favorite activist in the whole world. And you know what's the sad part about it? Our own people killed him. Our own people assassinated him. He fought for the true Islam. He fought for the realization and the truth of what he was told, that he saw that it was all a lie from the beginning. You understand? And it says Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little, was an influential and controversial African-American human rights activist, Muslim minister, and black nationalist leader during the mid-20th century. While a powerful voice for black empowerment and self-determination, he was also known for his theoretic and starkly different approach to achieving racial equality than that of the mainstream civil rights movement led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Early life and criminal activity. Born in Nebraska in 1925, Malcolm Little grew up in a family that faced constant racial threats from white supremacist groups, which led them to relocate multiple times. His father, a Baptist preacher and supporter of black nationalists, Marcus Garvey, died when Malcolm was 6, an event his family believed was a murder by a white supremacist group. Following his father's death, his mother suffered a mental breakdown and Malcolm was moved between foster homes. A teacher's racially prejudiced remarks ultimately led him to drop out of school after the 8th grade. As a young man, Malcolm moved to Boston and later to Harlem, where he engaged in criminal activities, including drug dealing, gambling, and burglary, earning the nickname Detroit Red. In 1946, he was sentenced to 8 to 10 years in prison for larceny. In prison, Malcolm joined the Nation of Islam, a black nationalist organization. He began an intense period of self-education, reading books in prison library and memorizing the dictionary. He adopted the surname X to symbolize the unknown African name of his ancestors, replacing what he called his slave name Little. After his release in 1952, Malcolm became a dynamic and charismatic minister within the NOI. His radical skills and powerful message advocating for black self-reliance and empowerment dramatically increased the organization's membership. During this period, he harshly criticized the civil rights movement's push for integration and its nonviolent tactics. His stats was based on the NOI teaching, which identified white people as devils. Break for the National of Islam and shift in philosophy. By the 1960s, Malcolm X grew disillusioned with the NOI's leadership and its rigid teaching, particularly after discovering moral failings by the leader, Elijah Muhammad. After being suspended from the NOI for making comments about President John F. Kennedy assassination. He publicly announced his break from the organization in March of 1964. He converted to Orthodox Sunni Islam and in April 1964 undertook the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. This journey was a transformative experience where he saw Muslims of all races unite in prayer. After the Hajj, if I'm saying it right, he adopted the new name El Malik El Shabazz and returned to America with a more moderate, humanistic perspective. He publicly renounced his previous separatist views and declared that racism, not the white race itself, was the enemy. He founded the Organization of Afro-American Unity to promote Pan-Africanism and black political consciousness, assassination, and legacy. Following his departure from the NOI, threats against his life from his former organization escalated. On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated while giving a speech at the Auditorium Ballroom in New York City. There, 3 NOI members were convicted of the murder, though 2 more officially exonerated in 2021 after it was revealed that evidence was withheld during the trial. Malcolm X in 1965 influenced a generation and inspired the Black Power movement of the 1960s and 70s. His advocacy for black self-determination and empowerment continues to influence movements for racial justice today. I'm just basically telling you this, Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson, whatever the fuck your name is. You will never beat these brothers that gave their life, they gave their all for their people. Dr. Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister and the most prominent leader of the American Civil Rights Movement from the mid-1950s until his assassination in 1968. He is best known for his strategy and nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience to protest racial segregation and injustice inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, whatever that means. Early life and education. Born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, he later changed his name to Martin Luther King Jr. He grew up in a segregated South and attended Morehouse College, Crosser Theological Seminary, and Boston University, where he earned his doctorate in cinematic theology. While in Boston, he met Coretta Scott, whom he married in 1953. They later had 4 kids. In 1954, King became the pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, a year before emerging as a national civil rights leader. Leadership and key events. Montgomery bus boycott, 1955 to 1956, the year my mom was born. King was chosen to lead the boycott that began after Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her bus seat to a white passenger. The 381-day boycott ended when the Supreme Court ruled segregated buses unconstitutional. Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Following the boycott success, King and other civil rights activists founded the SCLC in 1957 as As its president, King champagned nonviolent protests across the country. Letter from Birmingham jail, 1963. While jailed for protesting segregation in Birmingham, King wrote an open letter defending the use of civil disobedience and urging action to fight injustice. March on Washington, 1963. King helped organize and led this march, where he delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech to more than 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial. Selma to Montgomery, whatever that word is, Montgomery March, 1965. King guided peaceful protesters in Alabama to highlight voters' registration injustice. The march drew national attention to racial discrimination and led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Nobel Peace Prize, 1964. King was awarded the prize for combating racial inequity throughout nonviolent resistance. Expansion of focus. In his final years, King expanded his activism to include issues of poverty and the Vietnam War. Assassination and legacy. Assassination. On April 4th, 1968, at the age of 39, King was assassinated by a sniper while standing on the balcony of his motel room in Memphis, Tennessee. He had traveled there to support a sanitation worker strike. National holiday, a U.S. federal holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established in 1986 to commemorate his life and legacy. Enduring impact. King's work advanced civil rights, inspired millions, and brought about landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. His influence continues to inspire movements for equality and human rights globally. You see, unlike you, Dr. Umar, wannabe doctor, Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King fought for a purpose and a reason. They fought for their peoples. They fought for their rights. They fought for their constitutional rights. They fought for their civil rights. They fought for the freedom of not being enslaved and being harassed and beat up and being police brutality, and also bringing the nations together to overcome racism, capitalism, favoritism, and most of all, being victims of them being slaves to these white supremacist leaders. Rosa Parks, who did not let a white supremacist, a white passenger, sit in her chair because she refused. It made Dr. Martin Luther King march. And he brought a crowd when he assigned and gave one of the greatest speeches at his time, that I Have a Dream. It drew 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial. Till this day, that is one of the greatest speeches that an activist and a civil rights leader has ever said. And Malcolm X, he died knowing that his own brothers was gonna kill him. Before he even entered the building, he knew he was gonna die, and he chose to die. You know why? Because he knew by him choosing death that maybe his people will come into consciousness, will come into reason, and change the way that they think. You know why? Because when he went to Mecca, when he went to Egypt, when he went to India, he was eating off his fingers, off a plate, with a brother that was white, that had blue eyes. He saw no discrimination, no hatred, no racism, none of that. because the Nation of Islam, the Elijah Muhammad, the NOI, lied to him and told him that the white people were the devils, when in reality, it was the white supremacists. Because not all white brothers are racist or are within the supremacists and are racist towards black people, Latin people, Asian people. You will never be Dr. Martin Luther King. You will never be Malcolm X. How the fuck? Dog, I'm so pissed off right now, dog. And then on top of that, you talk about white bunnies? But you were trying to sleep with a white bunny with the movie that you did with the sensational queen that actually did the movie, and how you try to live up to expectations like you wasn't satisfied because you wanted a house of a rapper, because you wanted to show the world that you wanted to live that rapper life, that you had that type of life. And then you sit here and so proclaim that you are something like Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. Dog, the balls of this dude, dog. These brothers were assassinated. They did not sleep day in, day out to free our people, to bring peace and tranquility to our people, to bring harmony to our people. Malcolm X saw that what they taught him and the Nation of Islam was wrong. And let's not forget Farrakhan, when he found out that he was keeping 15, 16, and 17-year-old girls pregnant, living in separate apartments, that he found out with his own eyes. That's when he started despising Farrakhan. And Farrakhan said, we gotta take him out. So Farrakhan worked with the white supremacists to take him out. And that is the truth, my brother. What you know about that, Dr. Umar? And Dr. Martin Luther King got taken out by white supremacists that knew that he was making a difference, because he had a dream to be able to see white people, black people, Asian people, Latin people, it didn't matter what race you was. He said, even if I'm gone, even after 40, 50 years, I still gonna have a dream of seeing all races and all racial people and all candidates be together, not showing hatred, not showing no type of hatricism or favoritism or racism. But look what you doing. You want to talk about that bullshit about bunnies, but you try to sleep with that little white girl? Huh? You make me sick. I had to go off, dog. You would never be my favorite activist, dog. That man gave his life up for us, dog. He paid with his life. And he even had a criminal life. His father was murdered by the white supremacists. His mother had a breakdown. That man grew up without a mother, without a father. And I'm talking about Malcolm X. I'm so fucking pissed off, dog. Don't you fucking ever try to act like you gonna be like Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. Never. These brothers paid with their life. They gave it their all. They were restless. They got arrested. They got harassed. They got beaten. Their peoples got burned. They got burning crosses. They got hung. And look at you. A fucking hypocrite. God bless Malcolm X. And God bless Dr. Martin Luther King. And thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for fighting for our freedom. Thank you for fighting for the injustice and the racism and every equality and iniquity that y'all had in your possession, to being able, us today, to have rights, to fight these people, to defend ourselves. And even though we still have racism today, It is a better world or what it was 40 or 50 years ago. But there's people like this so-called Mr. Dr. Umar that is a hypocrite. And then on top of that, the name of your school, Frederick Douglass. Do you know that Frederick Douglass, his second wife was a white woman? Do you know that, you hypocrite? No, I don't think you know that. But don't you ever talk about Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. You're a coward when it comes to them. You're a fucking coward. Your name don't even belong in your mouth. Let them rest. They did everything that they can do, and they did it to their best ability. But you see, you're conniving, stealing, lying, fraud, fake profit that is never gonna get nowhere, and you will be exposed like you are being exposed. And let me put it to you like this. You keep on going the way you going, your downfall's gonna be greater than what you think. You fucking hypocrite. But this is your boy Jaloso, and I apologize to everybody else. I just had to get this out the way. You see, I'm Puerto Rican, Cuban, black. You understand what I'm saying? And half of my peoples are Jamaican as well. You feel me? And I'm representing for everybody, from the black culture to my Latin culture, from my Jamaican culture to my Cuban culture to my Bahamian culture, to everybody that's out there that understands what racism, what police brutality, and all the favoritism and the racism brothers and sisters have to go through. Imagine how it was 50 to 60 years ago. This hypocrite don't know about it because he don't care. All he cares about is putting money into his pockets so it can benefit him. That's why he's asking for $500 and asking for specifics when it comes of a so-called woman taking him out to eat and has to pay for him to be around him. Fucking hypocrite. You will never be my favorite activist. You will never be Dr. Martin Luther King. You will never be Rosa Parks. You will never be the greats that paid with their life and sacrificed everything. Because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here doing this shit. But I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all leave y'all comments down below. And God bless everybody. And I apologize. I didn't mean to curse. But you know what? Somebody got to give it to this brother, man. Enough is enough. This is your boy Chico Black. I'm out. Peace.